What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Those Two Dudes. It's officially that season. No, it's not fall. It is football season, the best season in the world. I'm with that dude, Josh.
That's that dude, Ruben.
Josh, we got a special person joining us today, man. We got to talk all things college football. We're gonna break down each conference, conference by conference. Obviously, we have to start with it's not arguably, it is the best football conference in the country, the SEC. Josh, who's joining us today, man?
Yes, we got a very special guest for our SEC preview. This is kind of a joint effort. We got Britt with us. He runs the Sidelines Kentucky page on Twitter. For those that don't know just yet, Sidelines Sports Network is the fastest growing sports media entity in the nation right now. The main page has 125,000 followers on Twitter. Britt's personal page, which is Kentucky, he covers Kentucky athletics, has over 2,000 followers. So Britt, we appreciate you coming on today. Welcome. Is there anything else you'd like to plug? What else would you like our viewers to know about you?
You guys can also follow my Twitter page. It's at Strong Britt. It has I think it's about to hit 1.3K.
Solid.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Sweet, man. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to talk all things SEC. We're going to break down both the SEC West, SEC East, talk about who are pretty much our top two teams are from each division, talk about maybe a dark horse, and then we'll go ahead and pick our winners. As open as this conference is, I feel personally, and maybe you guys can agree, it's kind of top heavy to where we know who would take it. But Britt, tell me, man, let's start with the SEC West, right? Let's start with the SEC West. Tell me what are your thoughts, man? What are your thoughts on those teams coming into the new season? Is it a runaway for Alabama? Do you see anybody stepping up, maybe challenging them? I know, my dark horse that I have coming out of the SEC is also out of the SEC West. But yeah, tell me, what are your thoughts on the West, man?
So it's obvious who's the main team in that division. It's Bama. They should be number one. But I do feel like that number two spot will be tied with Ole Miss and A&M. I can't tell you who's going to be number two, but I'm going with Ole Miss. And my dark horse out of the West is LSU.
Oh, okay. I like that. So yeah, Josh, go ahead. What do you think about the West, man?
Me and him actually are thinking a lot alike. I thought I was going to be the oddball out as far as Ole Miss goes, but I'll start with Alabama. Typically, when it comes to picking teams, predicting teams, where they finish, returning starters are big for me. And the offense, Bama only returns 3 starters this year. They're an outlier, though. Like Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, it doesn't matter what they return. They could return one person on each side of the ball. I'm still going to roll with them until proven otherwise.
As long as they're returning Saban, that's all that matters.
Yep.
And they're the undefeated national champions. They're going for their first back-to-back national championship since the 2011-12 season. They do return a lot on defense. So even if they start off a little slow on the offensive side, which I doubt, they got their defense to lean on, returning 8 of 11 starters. So Bama's Bama. So as long as the quarterback, who's the Bryce Young, as long as he's even decent, they're going to be competing for another national championship. So I know a lot of people heard about Bryce Young because of him getting that NIL deal. I think $1 million worth or so they were saying before he even took any meaningful snaps. Great for him. I guess that speaks to Bama's brand. Basically, you go to Bama, you're going to get paid. But Bama's Bama. Typically, if you only had 3 starters coming back on offense, I wouldn't pick you, but they're one of my top 2 teams. I got Ole Miss coming in at number 2. It was close. You could go with Ole Miss. I think it's a 3-man race for that second spot in the West between Ole Miss, A&M, and LSU. Both of them have their positives and negatives. I'm rolling with Ole Miss because they got a Heisman candidate at quarterback and Matt Corral coming back. They're loaded on offense. They have 8 of 11 starters. They got Jaren Ely coming back at running back. Speaking of Matt Corral, he threw for 29 touchdowns last year, and he rushed for 500 yards on the ground as well. That's why he's a Heisman candidate. They got 4 or 5 starters up front on the offensive line coming back, which is huge. When you look at what teams can do when they're coming into that new season, continuity up front, both on the offensive and the defensive side, is important, and they got that. The offense should be fine. The defense was terrible last year. There's no sugarcoating that. It was bad. But a lot of that was to do up front because of their defensive line play. They do expect some help. They got Tywan Malone, a freshman, ranked number 6 at DT in the nation as per freshman coming in per 247 Sports. And they also got some JUCO players to help out up front as well. They do got 3 or 4 starters coming back, I think, at the linebacker position, who they're supposed to be pretty good. Hopefully with better D-line play, that allows them to make more plays. I'm going to roll with them basically because college football is about offense. They got a Heisman candidate. They got an offensive guru in Lane Kiffin running at the helm. So I'm picking them over LSU and A&M. For my sleeper, you could go LSU or A&M there. A&M, they only got 1 starter up front on the O-line, which is concerning. They lose Kellen Mond at quarterback. They have either a freshman or sophomore coming in to replace them. With only 1 starter on the O-line, that gives me enough concern to not take them number 2. But A&M's been recruiting well. Jimbo Fisher's a great coach. They've been getting better and better. Basically, it comes down to, are they at that point where they can just kind of reload? If they are, then they can expect to have another great season, and they might end up number 2. I just feel more confident in Ole Miss right now. That's why I went with them. LSU, my question mark, honestly, is the coach. I'm not sold. I know they won a national championship a couple of years ago, but I'm not sure about Ed Orgeron, honestly. So coaching's why I went with A&M over LSU. So I would take Ole Miss 2, A&M 3, LSU 4, Bama 1 in the West. So that's what I'm thinking. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, it's unanimous. I have Alabama obviously taken in. That doesn't seem to be a shocker. I feel like the dark horse and who finishes second comes hand in hand because it's a toss-up for me between A&M and Ole Miss. We talked about Alabama. It's just a plug and play video game school university that they have there with Alabama. Bryce Young, obviously he's already super popular. He's scheduled, I know he's on the books to make about $1 million this year. So it's just going to be interesting how these players play this season now that they are making money. That's what I'm curious to see. If does the money match, the talent? So, and if that talent shows on the field, because, we know, just because they're talented in college football, a lot of times they don't make it in the NFL, and sometimes money plays a factor. So we're going to see if now that shows on the college football field. But anyway, we'll see with Bryce Young. Ole Miss, I'd probably give the edge to Ole Miss over A&M. Like you said, Josh, they have a lot of starters coming back. They got 9 starters back on defense. Their tough game of the year this year, they got at Alabama. That is going to be tough. But their QB, like you talked about, he threw 29 touchdowns last season in only 10 games. He led FBS in total yards last season. Rushing was a big part about that. The only thing that's stopping them from being great and being a serious threat is his ability to turn the ball over. I think he threw 14 interceptions, and he only threw those interceptions in losses. So, if he can fix that, that's a big deal. But again, that's a big if. A&M, I think, is also good. They have a favorable schedule this year. They have a home game against Bama early in the season. That's going to be a real indication of how good that A&M team is going to be this year. So the game's in College Station. We know how crazy College Station gets, especially going against Bama. But they, later on in the season, they got games at Ole Miss and at LSU. Also, Josh, to kind of piggyback what you're saying, I'm not so big on LSU. mostly because I'm not big on Coach O. I think Coach O just inherited a great roster, inherited Joe Burrow. And look, it showed last season when they all left. The recruiting showed by Coach O, and look how well they did. So I'm not sold on them. But also to kind of throw a wrench out there, I think another, not necessarily dark horse, but a team to kind of that could make some noise in the SEC West is I'm just looking at Mississippi State, mostly because for the same reason as Ole Miss having, a great coach in Lane Kiffin. I like Mike Leach. I like Mike Leach with Mississippi State. He did well at Tech. He did well at Washington State. I believe in Mike Leach and his craziness, and I think they could make some noise there out in Mississippi State. So I don't know. That's just throwing it out there. It probably won't be any serious noise, but I mean, yeah, there's no real debate here on the SEC West. We got Bama, we got Ole Miss, and A&M. Those seem to be the three teams that we're chatting about here. But yeah, so moving now on the other side, let's talk about the SEC East. Maybe it's a little bit more open. I don't know. Britt, what do you think?
So with George Pickens going down towards ACL in the spring, I still got Georgia, but it's much closer between second spot now. Their recruiting is just so good, so it's going to be Georgia, probably going to be number one every year. But I will say the game between Kentucky in the middle of, I think it's October, will determine the division. But Georgia will probably win. I'll have Kentucky second. Then Mizzou, of course, they're going to be really good because of Bazelak and Coach Drankowitz.
Okay, nice. What about you, Jeff?
No Florida, Britt? No Florida?
Florida. All right, so Emory, what's his name? Emory Jones, right? The quarterback.
Yeah.
He's not as good as people think he is. He's not going. He'll be a first game starter or something because Trask went to the NFL last year or this year, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't have faith in that Florida team. After seeing what they did with LSU at the end of the season and getting smacked by Oklahoma, I don't have that much faith. If they can't do that without the Pitts or the other two wide receivers, Copeland and I don't remember the other one. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have faith in Florida. But they'll probably finish third or fourth with Mizzou flipping wherever you want to look at that.
Okay.
I'm gonna differ a little bit. Maybe I didn't do my homework enough on your school, Kentucky, but
I'm always looking at it.
I bet you are. But I'm rolling with Georgia. Number one, like you said, the recruiting's top notch. They're always in conversation for that kind of like that fourth playoff spot with Oklahoma and Notre Dame. Kirby Smart's a good coach. They went 8-2 last year in an all SEC schedule. 7 of 11 starters back on offense, including star quarterback JT Daniels. They got 3 offensive linemen back starting, which is solid. They did, like you said, they lost their star receiver in spring due to an ACL, I believe.
Yep.
But they have other weapons. And like I said, 7 starters returning on offense. They should be solid. Defense, they don't return as much on defense, but I heard they're basically just reloading on the D-line, which is
there's not a problem with their defense. That's probably going to be the best spot of their team, even though JT Daniels is on offense.
Right. I heard their D-line might be one of the best in the nation, despite only returning 4 of 11 starters. So I'm taking Georgia. I got a surprise pick for my number 2. I went with Missouri.
Yeah, I understand your reasoning for that one.
Okay. I like Eli Drinkwitz as a coach. He was in the Sun Belt before he came over to Missouri. So he did well there. He's a winner. He showed that in his first year. They overachieved last year by even going 500. So he's got them going in the right direction. They found their quarterback in Connor. I don't know how to say his last name. Bazelak. Okay, Connor Bazelak.
That's how I say it, at least. It sounds right to me.
67% completion last year. 4 or 5 starters on the O-line. The defense kind of like Ole Miss struggled a little bit, especially down the stretch when they lost the final 2 games. They gave up like high 40s, I believe, maybe even 48, 49 points in their last 2 games. So depth is a little issue there. But they had injuries and they were battling COVID stuff last year. So hopefully with them getting those guys back and hopefully no COVID issues this year, They should have a little bit more depth there. So I took them second. And then I took my sleeper. I took Florida. Maybe I could have gone somewhere different there. I do hear that maybe Florida's trending in the wrong direction. There's been some little Dan Mullen issues here and there, but
yeah, their recruiting has done bad.
They're still Florida. I'd prefer. I always go for the underdog. So I'd like if somebody like Kentucky snuck up and surpassed Florida or something. So, but I got them. They're still Florida. They still get talent. Dan Mullen's still a good coach. He's won elsewhere. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Florida as my sleeper. However, I do like Missouri number 2. So I think Missouri at 2 and Ole Miss at 2. I think some people would be a little bit surprised by that, but if you do your homework, those 2 teams are both trending in the right direction.
Just surprised because they're not like super big names in the college football world.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially when you think of the SEC, you don't think of really Missouri or Ole Miss. Those ain't the first few teams you think about, right? So if they're competing, that's good. That's good for the SEC depth as well. So it's good not to have the same teams every year.
Yeah. Josh, I'm with you, man. I think we have the same teams, but I have a different order. So the favorite, it's unanimous. I got Georgia. Taking the SEC East. They have a fairly favorable schedule. They're not playing Alabama this regular season. They got at Auburn. I know that might be tough. I know Britt said they got Kentucky too. With JT Daniels, obviously that was big, and I think that's going to be the reason why they take the SEC East. He was recovering from the ACL injury that he tore the season before then, in 2019. He didn't come until mid-season last season, and they started lighting it up. They averaged 8 more points when he was on the field. So for that reason, I am taking Georgia. Second, I got Florida, but I think that this is. I think Josh, you hit the nail on the head, man. They are trending down. I don't know what kind of leash Dan Mullins is on, but they do have a tough schedule this season, and they got Alabama at home. So we'll see. But I have Florida second, but obviously that can change. But my sleeper team is Missouri for the same reason you talked about with their QB, Connor. I know he lights it up. They had some health issues last season, but I could see Missouri, creeping up and taking that 2 slot. And at the very least, just challenging Georgia. I think Georgia runs away with the SEC East, but, I think Missouri could make it interesting. One team that I'm super worried about in the entire SEC is Tennessee. I don't think that they're ever seen to get anything right these days, and they're at the bottom. And if it's even possible, they're even going further below. This offseason, they led the nation in players that hit the transfer portal. They had 25 players.
They lost their star linebacker to Alabama too.
Man, so I mean, there's you're in the SEC. That should just not happen. You should not lose that many players in the transfer portal. So that's definitely telling you something. But
I got one more team to kind of look out for. Like, I don't think they're going to compete for no division or anything, but
Arkansas?
I think Arkansas is trending in the right direction.
You agree?
They return. Look, they only went 3-7 last year, but that was with an all SEC schedule.
And they competed with almost every team they played.
Yeah, correct. And they return. This is their second year with their coach, Sam Pittman. And they return a ton on both sides of the ball. I guess your question mark would be at quarterback. But elsewhere, they're returning nearly everything. And look, they got Rice week 1, and then they got a big showdown with Texas. If they can knock down Texas and get some momentum going into SEC play, some teams are going to have to look out for them. Not necessarily like they're not going to outdo Bama for the division or anything, but they could knock off some teams, that are trying to compete with Bama or whatnot. They'll pull an upset here and there.
Yeah, get a decent bowl game out of it.
There's a good chance. Yeah,
I feel like A&M would be a shout for that upset.
Yeah. definitely.
So does
Arkansas trending right?
that Arkansas Texas game, is that in Arkansas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an old rivalry right there, man. That'll be a good game.
I'm watching that one for sure.
Yeah. I like watching Texas games just to go against them, but
Yeah. Hey, and just a couple more seasons, we'll be doing an SEC preview with Texas. So, but that's for another time.
Thank God.
Yeah. So obviously we have our, top two teams, SEC East, SEC West. Britt, who's meeting in the SEC championship and who's taking it?
As I said in the SEC, it should be Georgia, but I have a lot of faith in Kentucky because of a favorable schedule, most experienced offensive line returning, and they're getting that LSU best offensive lineman in Dare Rosenthal, whatever his name is, and they turned the most experienced line. That's the reason why I said Kentucky in second. But it could be a shout for them to go to the Atlanta to versus Bama. I mean, it's Bama all the way in the West, but Georgia should win it. But Kentucky would not be the team to lead out because of Wandale Robinson. And quarterback's the question for Kentucky, of course. But Georgia, Bama for me.
So you're taking Georgia, Bama. I'm going to say this about Kentucky. Stoops has done solid with that program. They've been getting better and better. They just every now and then they concern me on offense, like
quarterback. They got a new offensive coordinator, Liam Cohn, from the Rams. So hopefully that will do something because we had that 80 grand that just running. But yeah, we got better. We'll get more passing. We got that. The Penn State transfer will leave us. He's been looking really good for us in the offseason. So that's why I have a little bit more faith. Plus, we got Christopher Rodriguez as well. So I got faith in him. So that's why I said we could go Atlanta, but I expect Georgia.
Okay.
Solid. Okay. So well, let me ask you, Britt. Bama versus Kentucky or Georgia? Does it matter? Does it matter who Bama faces? Are they taking the SEC?
Well, that's the thing, though. Kentucky had the favorable schedule. They only have Georgia and LSU. We can say LSU. I don't have faith. Like as I said, I don't have faith in Florida, so I'm not going to even say them. They'll compete with us like always, and they'll somehow probably beat us. But anyways, Florida, Georgia, LSU. That mid-season they play free back-to-back weeks. Them free teams.
The good news is they got two of those at home. They're hard.
Only go Georgia.
They got Georgia on the road.
That's it.
They don't play Bama at all.
Nope.
They got Florida, LSU at home. Yeah, I mean, their schedule is
Mississippi State. Nice. The West teams are Mississippi State and LSU this year, which I think that's pretty good for how good this team's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of we decide the quarterback battle in week 1 versus Louisiana Monroe. And if we can do that, and if we can get a momentum win versus Mizzou, head into smack Chattanooga, but we can head into that middle stretch with Florida, Georgia, and LSU. And if we can win like 2 of those games, I like our spot because recruiting is getting better in the SEC. South Carolina's on their odds, Mizzou on their odds, Kentucky on their odds, even Vandy, Arkansas's on their odds. A&M's got a 5-star today, and Ross Anderson, he's a 5-star safety. So A&M's getting, of course, it's going to be good at recruiting. But everyone's getting better, except Tennessee, of course. That's a good thing for me. I make fun of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think that Mizzou game's big early on. For
oh, yeah. The quarterback battle is going to have to be determined in that first game. And if they don't do good, if they needed to hit quarterback does good in the Louisiana Monroe game, I don't know what they're going to do. I expect Will Levis to win that battle versus Joe Gatewood. But the quarterback battle is going to be the weakness. The quarterback's going to be the spot to look at for UK. Wide receiver's good. Lineman are good. D lineman will be bad, too. We got Ole Miss transfer the leading tackler.
Which one came from Penn State? Was that Will Levis?
Yeah. Right. He's the one that's hopped up this offseason for us. The one that's been doing really good in training camp.
Okay.
Yeah, but I still expect Georgia to go. So I would love for Kentucky to go, of course. I think still expect Georgia.
Who you taking, Bama or Georgia?
This might be the closest it's ever been.
Yeah.
Georgia turns so much.
Hey, if there's going to be a year that Georgia knocks them off, it's got to be this year.
Bama legit turns like 7 people on starters last year, and Georgia turns what, 19, 20?
Yeah.
A lot more. Yeah, I think 7 on offense.
This would be the year. JT Daniels just can't choke under pressure.
It has to be the year. right? I
has to be
mean,
the year.
if it's not the year,
It's never gonna be the year.
yeah. I mean, like,
Weakest
then what are you doing?
Bama's
Like,
gonna be.
head coach is going to be on the hot seat if it's not the year.
Yeah.
I mean, it just has to be. You can't every year. You can't just compete for the SEC title and then that's it. Like you have to win the conference.
Well, I mean, he has them in possession to battle for that fourth playoff spot year in and year out. And with the playoff expanding soon, who knows when exactly?
Yeah,
They'd be one of those teams in the playoffs every year.
Who even knows what the conference realignment will do to the playoff, anyways?
Oh my goodness.
We might be seeing two of each conference and 4 group of 5 teams or something. I don't know how that's going to work out.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Crazy.
I mean, they said they were talking about it starting in 2023, but I think other conference commissioners and ADs and everything, they were getting upset because the SEC was doing this knowing that they were about to add Texas and Oklahoma. So
Because they've been talking about it since December. So
yeah,
they said they knew for a while.
They said these conversations have been going on for about 6 months.
That's crazy.
And everybody else is now like, hold up.
Everybody else was in the dark.
Not only that, I think that people are becoming wary of if they're to renegotiate these things right now and go to the 12 team or whatever playoff, ESPN's going to have full control of that playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if they wait a few years, it can go to the open market, which is good.
That's the thing.
I want the playoff to expand ASAP as a fan of smaller schools, but
oh yeah, I want to see Cincinnati in a Coastal, App State, UCF.
Makes things more exciting. But if it means ESPN not having full control, I'll wait a few more years because I wouldn't want any network to have just full control of the college football playoff. But
Josh wants to watch the college football games being played on HGTV or something. He doesn't want to see on ESPN.
That's a good
like
one.
Notre Dame. Did y'all hear about Notre Dame's first game? It's on the Peacock Network.
Well, you know why though, right? Peacock is that's NBC.
Right, right. I think
just get a Peacock now. Just get a Peacock login.
I have it.
Yeah, there you go. I actually just got it yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Really?
I watch it for the Premier League soccer games.
Oh, nice.
They come on at 6 a.m.
Interesting. Never even heard of it. But
all right, Josh, who do you got in the SEC East and West in the title game, man?
Georgia and Bama. And look, if Georgia's got to win it this year, but I'm still rolling with Bama. Roll Tide. Until somebody proves otherwise, I'm rolling with Bama. So
facts.
I got Bama and Georgia also. I just don't see Bama going undefeated into the SEC championship game and losing.
That's what I'm thinking.
I just don't see that happening.
I see them losing the wild game like Miami first week. Maybe not. Well, I don't know.
Maybe not Miami, but yeah, exactly.
Yes,
right. They could
Miss,
lose
LSU, A&M.
They could lose Ole Miss, like one of the A&M at A&M. They could lose that game and still end up in the title game. If that's the case, then I would most likely, I'd be reluctant to pick A&M or excuse me, Alabama. But I think Alabama goes into it undefeated, and I think Bama takes the SEC. And I think all's right in the world if Bama's winning and going undefeated because this happens every year.
Yep.
Man, that's crazy. But I mean, I know you guys were briefly talking about the expansion of the SEC. I mean, you think it's just going to be 2 divisions of 8 teams, or are they going to break it down by 4 divisions? What do you think?
That's what I'm thinking. They'll do 4 pods, so like Tennessee, Vandy, Mizzou, and Kentucky, of course, and the 1 pod. So it'd be like Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Auburn, Bama, LSU, A&M, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and what's the other one over there?
I think that's the best way to do it. You play the other 3 teams in your pod, and then you play
2 and the others, 2 and 3 others
from each of the others. Yeah. I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah,
we'll give you what That'd be 9. So yeah, they'd be moving from 8 conference games to 9. But I mean, when you have 16 teams, you don't really have a choice.
And if they add any more, like that, I seen rumors about Clemson, Florida State. I don't know if those probably weren't true, but if they even add more,
yeah, I think they had their, I think some teams when joining the SEC, there was a handshake agreement. Obviously, this isn't on paper, but because A&M had the same agreement that their rival couldn't join the conference. So, for instance, South Carolina had it to where Clemson couldn't join. Georgia has it to where Georgia Tech can't join the conference. So there's these handshake and under the table agreements that the SEC has with some of the teams that their rivals can't join. But clearly, they value A&M's partnership a lot less than everybody else's.
Yeah. So they want that Red River Showdown money. Yeah,
and they want the Texas money. It's all the state of Texas money. And obviously, I mean, Clemson is great at football and everything, obviously. But how much money is Clemson bringing in? How much money is Georgia Tech bringing in? Not a lot.
I know Florida State brings a good amount, but it's not anything compared to Oklahoma, Texas.
Exactly. But how much money is Texas and Oklahoma bringing? A ton.
Texas is number 1 in college athletics, and Oklahoma is number 8.
Yep.
There you go. So whether you hate them or you love them, you're gonna watch because you want to see them win or lose. So that's all that matters, and that's it. It doesn't matter what their records are. It matters who's watching.
Yep.
So, man, I look forward to it. I know we forgot to plug in our own stuff, Josh. Like always, like and subscribe our stuff at Those Two Dudes Podcast, Instagram, Those Two Dudes YouTube, Those Two Dudes Spotify. What's our Twitter handle, Josh?
Those Two Dudes 1.
Those Two Dudes 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 1.
That's confusing, but okay. Yeah, check us out on Twitter. Man, this is gonna be exciting. I'm super excited. When does the first game kick off? When does the college football season end?
August 28th. This month.
Nebraska, Illinois.
3 weeks. 3 weeks away.
Why UCLA? You got it. Hey.
Well, I was just saying the first game.
I like that.
First day. Okay.
Yeah.
It's at 1 o'clock on the 28th, whatever day that is.
Hawaii, UCLA play first week, Josh?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. That sounds familiar.
Nice. Week 0, August 28th.
Man, poor Hawaii. They can't play anybody past the West Coast, those guys.
Yeah.
No, not really. They play a lot of Pac-12 games, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. It's whatever. But, hey, man, we look forward to it. Super excited about the SEC. Even more excited about what's to come in the next coming years. To see who's going to be joining, how they're going to do conference expansion, but all that's great. Britt, appreciate you joining us, man. Appreciate you joining us.
For sure.
Obviously, we're looking forward to seeing Kentucky, how well they do. We do hope, they make some noise this year at the SEC East. We'll see, man. We'll see. That'll be very exciting. Looking forward to that Missouri-Kentucky game. That'll be super exciting.
I'm gonna sit at that football field and stare at it.
Hell yeah, man. But man, appreciate you joining us. Tell everybody again where they can catch all your stuff.
My Twitter is StrongBrit, at StrongBrit. And my other Twitter is at SSN_Kentucky. That's where I'm mainly at. But I also do a recruiting account for Sidelines as well. That's a SSN Recruits. So if you guys want to worry about that.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Awesome, dude. Awesome. Well, we look forward to it. Britt, thanks for joining us. Catch us. I know we're going to be back with some more episodes. Again, we're going to do a conference by conference breakdown. Let us know in the comments what teams you guys think are going to take it. Did we miss something? Who's your dark horse? Let us know. Is it Bama or are you taking the field? Let us know, guys. But appreciate the time at Those Two Dudes Podcast, Instagram, Those Two Dudes YouTube, Those Two Dudes Spotify. We got Twitter, and then we're also on Facebook as well. So we're everywhere. Catch us there, man. It's that dude, Josh.
That's that dude, Ruben.
Check us out. Pound that like and subscribe button. Tell your friends. Let's go.